And welcome back to the Hot Lap. We are talking F1 2024 is a go. As you can see here, here's the result of the first ever practice session for 2024. The first time we've seen cars sort of in anger, but that probably won't happen till qualifying. This qualifying session, a lot of people said because it happened in the daytime in Bahrain, as we know, it is a night race. Doesn't mean as much, but lo and behold, as you can see, Daniel Ricciardo fastest, Norris second, Piastri third. What a day for McLaren. Imagine if that was the qualifying, but there we go. Tsunoda in fourth. I mean, those RBs are looking probably quicker than a lot of people thought. And we have Alonso in fifth, Verstappen all the way down in sixth, which is kind of like they're in the 33s. That's kind of how we know they're not going absolutely pedal to the metal. Russell in seventh, Leclerc eighth, Hamilton ninth, Bottas 10th, Sainz 12th, Perez 13th, Albon 14th, 15th Stroll, 16th Zhou, 17th Ocon, Gasly, Magnussen and Hulkenberg. Really slow for Magnussen and Hulkenberg, which is slightly concerning. And Ocon and Gasly, But what's interesting, the top 14, including one of the Williams, within a second on that FP1, so that's not too bad. And a lot of people were just almost kind of like doing like an extra test, it seemed like. But the interesting thing was free practice numero 2. Yes, Hamilton fastest, Russell second fastest, Alonso third. Alonso, as you can see, just a shy of about 3/10 off. Russell 2/10 off Hamilton. Hamilton doing a 1:30.374. Then we've got Sainz in fourth, just shy of 4/10 off. Piastri in the McLaren in fifth. Then it's Verstappen, the first Red Bull, in sixth, nearly half a second down. Yes, surely that is not Red Bull's pace. Seventh is Hulkenberg, eighth is Stroll, ninth Leclerc, 10th Perez. Perez, his usual 3/10 maybe, just shy of 3/10, 2.5 behind Verstappen. Albon in 11th, and that was all those, the top 11, all within a second of each other. And then Sargent 13th, not too bad, about just shy of 4/10 off Albon. Okay. Magnussen 14th, 15th for Tsunoda, 16th Gasly, 17th Bottas, 18th Ocon, and then we've got Norris in last, who, to be fair, on his hot lap, Zach Brown did come out. And he said that Norris just made a massive mistake, I think, in the last sector potentially. But one of the sectors, he made a big mistake there, ergo not very fast. But it does provide some hope, even though a lot of people think, and I feel, that Verstappen is still favourite. We'll get into that in a second. But Hamilton and Russell, really solid. They both had kind of admitted on the race runs they weren't as good, really, as Red Bull. Red Bull, as we know, set their car for the race runs. It's the race that means everything. You can overtake in Bahrain. I think we all still fully expect Red Bull to be winning the race. A Red Bull 1-2 though, I don't think, I'm so sure, based on obviously the comments that we've been having about Perez. And as you can see here, these are all the sectors. So we've got Mercedes quickest in the fastest sector, that's sector 1 and sector 3. But it's basically McLaren, Ferrari and Aston Martin in the guise of Piastri, Alonso and Sainz quickest in what is that twisty sector 2. Does that mean good things for Monaco and street tracks? And obviously sector 3, both Mercedes. Now what's interesting as well, they've basically got, hiding more than most teams, is Verstappen and Perez. They must have been, we think, on a very low engine mode come FP3 and come quali. I will see their maximum pace, and it wouldn't surprise me if it is a Red Bull front row. The race could be different, but it really wouldn't surprise me if it is a Red Bull front row. So that's I thought that's quite interesting from F1 Analysis on data analysis on Twitter, which is a really good go-to. But let's be talking about Max Verstappen. Let's be talking about Max Verstappen and the sandbagging, shall we? So Red Bull, still very much favourites, but it says Max Verstappen FP2 result here on planetf1.com. It says, offers hope, but beware the Red Bull sandbagging. Indeed. So taking with that context, Verstappen's P6 and Sergio's P10 may suggest that Red Bull are not looking as all-conquering as it did in 2023. There's always a but though, isn't there? FP2, as we know, was the first session in what were more similar race conditions and similar qualifying conditions, with it getting slightly darker. So it was a 1-2 for Merck, but instead of the charging bull at the top, as we said, it was Lewis and George Russell. Hamilton's effort was almost half a second quicker than Verstappen's, which is eyebrow-raising slightly. Even behind those two, as we said, we had Fernando Alonso, Carlos Sainz and Oscar Piastri creating a top 5 of 4 different teams. Imagine that. Imagine that for 2024. But for as much optimism, the article says, as this may have brought the neutral fan, the prospect of Red Bull still being the dominant force is most certainly not out of the question. It says, let's look back over the years and a trend that does develop. In the past 6 editions of the Bahrain Grand Prix, this could make for depressing reading, the driver that has topped FP2 has only won the race on 1 occasion, and that comes with a caveat of it being the 2022 season and Bahrain being much further down the calendar. Last year it was Alonso who topped the times, but he would go on to finish 38.6 seconds behind, Verstappen. The point we're trying to make, it says, is that while over teams may have felt more inclined to turn the engines up for quality simulation, Red Bull look like they're not phased at all. They know they've got a very good car. And everyone knows the RB20 is most certainly not, even though I think some may secretly want it to be, but it's most certainly not the 5th best car on the grid. But of the 5 timed events this year, a Red Bull driver has topped the leaderboard on just 1 occasion. So sandbagging, as we know, is a term frequently used in the F1 paddock, especially during the Mercedes dominant year, which suggests that Red Bull 2 are keeping their cards close to their chest. FP3 back in the desert sunshine, it's unlikely that we'll see just how competitive the RB20 is until Q3. But anyone, it says, writing the teams of Prix just may yet find themselves eating a slice of humble pie, which is why I'm still thinking it's going to be very much Verstappen on pole. Yeah. But Verstappen not kind of maybe a plus here. Max Verstappen is reportedly not completely happy. If you followed him in FP1, it says Verstappen blast, everything is bleep on the F1 return. It says here it took only a few minutes for Verstappen to load Gianpiero Lambassi's headphones full of expletives during the first practice session of Bahrain, despite FP1 leaderboard suggesting Verstappen's car is just as rapid as one would expect. The 3-time and reigning champion was far from happy how the RB20 felt under his command. Yeah, not particularly happy there, is he? Unfortunately. But going back to Mercedes, Russell is happy. Yeah, Mercedes George Russell says his F1 24 car has been designed around Hamilton's wishes. Both drivers struggle with previous handling, as we know. And last year, as we know, Mercedes stuck to that troublesome 2022 concept, but the team rallied to second in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes have appeared, though, it says, at this weekend's season opener on motorsport.com. With a heavily revised W15, which features much anticipated design changes. I must say, it hasn't changed from the testing onto this race weekend. I don't think they've got any go faster bits on there. But last year, Hamilton said Mercedes didn't listen to them. And Russell reports Lewis and I have put out a huge amount of work into helping steer the team in the direction we want to go. Obviously, with Lewis's experience, the car's been designed around his wishes, with the car being sat further rearwards than we were last year. The Red Bull-esque side pods on the side and a slightly different steering rack. And Mrs. Russell, a quick comment here, he said.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to get carried away with ourselves. The qualifying pace looked really strong. We still need to try and understand why it was so good. We made some changes from the tests and it exceeded our expectations. But ultimately, the long run pace, which is where it all happens, Max was still ahead of us. It was very close with Fernando, with Lando and the Ferraris. And Lewis and I were very similar as well. So we've got a real fight on our hands in...
There you go. And that's from Checkered Flag on YouTube, which is quite interesting. But, I mean, let's see what happens. Fingers crossed. Fingers very much crossed. Now, the Christian Horner fallout. I figured there may be some. It says here, from motorsport.com, teams want F1 and the FIA to clear up these, what they've considered to be unanswered questions over the Horner probe. We suggested yesterday there could maybe be some issues, but we understood why people weren't, being named. But Horner was subjected to a detailed probe by Red Bull's energy drinks company over allegations made against him by a female employee. After a process that took 8 weeks and involved an independent barrister, the complaint against Horner was dismissed on Wednesday and he was cleared, as we know, of any wrongdoing. but Red Bull having offered pretty much absolutely no explanation for its findings, making it clear the details of the matter are going to remain private. Now, speaking at the F1 season opener, Toto Wolff said, well, I've just read the statement, which was pretty basic. He said, my personal opinion is we can't really look behind the curtain. At the end of the day, there is a lady in an organisation that has spoken to HR and said there is an issue, and it was investigated. And yesterday, the sport has received the message, it's all fine, we've looked at it. I believe that with the aspiration as a global sport on critical topics, it needs more transparency. And I wonder what the sport's position is. He went on to saying we are competitors, we are a team, and we can have our own personal opinions or not. But it's more like a general reaction or action that we as a sport need to assess what is right in that situation and what is wrong. Brown added, I've read this statement. I think from what I've seen, there continues to be a lot of rumours, speculations and questions. He went on to saying, I think the sanctioning body has a responsibility and authority to our sport, to our fans, and I think to all of us in Formula One, I think they need to make sure things have been fully transparent with them. He added, I think until then, there will continue to be speculation, which we suggested yesterday, because there are a lot of unanswered questions about the whole process. I think what's needed by those that run the sport is to really be able to draw a line under it. Until then, I think we'll continue to be there will continue to be some level of speculation by people, and I think that's and I don't think that's healthy for the sport. And Wolff felt that simply accepting Red Bull's statement without any extra due diligence taking place would not sit well for F1. He said, I just simply think that as a sport, we cannot afford to leave things in the vague and in the opaque on critical topics like this, because this is going to catch us out, he declared. What do you guys think? I mean, I guess they got a point. We kind of knew this was coming. I can see both sides. So I guess at the moment I'm getting splinters by sitting on that fence. But there we go. But hopefully we kind of this needs to end one way or another. Anyway, I digress. An interesting free practice 1, an interesting free practice 2 gives us maybe a glimmer of hope that Red Bull won't completely trounce everyone this season. Keeping our fingers crossed. If you made it to the end, like and subscribe. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. That'll be great. Comment below. Let us know what you think. I reply to all comments, at least I try to, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.